this will all work for everybody. And they get the intro. Ready? 1, 2, 3, intro. All right, everyone. Welcome to Houston Have a Problem. And are we streaming on your channel as well, boss?
I'm not streaming live right now.
Oh, okay. All right. So we're on my channel at least. And I've got Boss Blunts on, Marcel, and he's preparing his nugs or something there. And
getting everything together.
Get everything right and ready.
Getting my sponsors ready.
Yeah.
Another light.
I got quite a few of you already in the chat here, and I hope everything's working out. This is only the second time I've managed to
tweet this out real quick
with
nice.
Somebody's here. So yeah, all right.
It's awesome.
Looks like it's working. All right, so we've nothing planned. We're just gonna shoot the shit and talk about. I guess right off the bat that we've got glitches galore happening across markets. Yesterday afternoon, I was a billionaire in shit coins. I think my 19 billion Saitama coins were worth $52 billion at one point around lunchtime yesterday. And no one knows why the glitch happened across. It was market cap and Coinbase, a couple of others. But liquidity vanished. My theory is somebody hacked it, did a giant trade, and sucked all the liquidity out of the market and made away with a bunch of money. And then everyone else will start going, oh my gosh, why am I worth $1 trillion? I tried doing trades. There was no liquidity to make it happen. So I watched my 52 billion go to like 25 billion to 12 billion to 10 billion, and eventually went to like $700. But
that's a shame.
Yeah, and then with the options chain, what you said last night, that apparently a bunch of folks were worth like billions of dollars. I've got Vivid Surround 4981 in the chat, and he said his options for 1217 is 180 options for GME all of a sudden are worth $333 million.
Oh, I didn't see the options.
Yeah,
I only knew about the crypto.
Yeah,
I didn't see that the GME options and stuff.
GME options went weird apparently.
That's bullish.
I watched mine go from like $6 to $2 today. So yeah, I didn't have a chance to sell for $333 million. That would have been nice. Or exercise to close. But yeah, what's on your mind, bud?
That was one of the interesting things that I was looking at yesterday is Gemini. But now knowing that GameStop had that kind of movement, even if it was a glitch or not, that's kind of really interesting because you see what happened after hours on AMC and whatnot. Yeah. We went up another 5%.
Yep.
Flat on the entire day, and we end up going 5% positive after hours. That is hiding implied volatility on options.
Yeah. So, I'll be interested to see what pre-market does, and if we still have people like getting in there. But the fact that Anchorage is getting out, and they're selling 4 million puts. Yeah. 2
of them, right? Anchorage and Tiberius.
Tiberius, Tiburon, one of those.
Yeah.
But these are
2 hedge funds in one day.
Yeah, these are like, I don't know what you call them, mid-cap hedge funds. They're managing not quite.
I would say they're small, mid.
Yeah, they're
the mid-cap size.
They're in the billions of assets under management. Mm-hmm. And I think that a lot of these folks that they might have a bunch of puts at $2 or something in AMC, and they thought this thing will be over. I'll make a fortune, and they're realizing like, oh smokes, like when these yearlies are up in January, we are going to lose a fortune of our people's money. So we have to. People are yelling at me to turn up my microphone on my side. Sorry.
Okay, I can hear you fine. My bad.
All right. Well, everyone else can hear me fine.
It might be different on YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I can turn it up anymore here. The end of the quarter's coming. The yearlies are in January. If they don't get out now, they've got nothing to give their customers because all that money's just going to vaporize. So they're saying, hey, we just got to get rid of everything now before the first. Take our licks, give our clients their money back, and
whoa, sorry, that's obnoxious.
So
that's exactly what's going to happen, though.
Yeah,
it's going to be a massive loss for these guys, right?
Yeah, Yeah,
they're
huge.
not allowing they're not allowing their customers to take any money out early.
Yep.
So they can't just be like, "Hey, give me my money now," because they're pretty much holding it hostage. They're saying, "You're in this until we're out of this situation,
Yeah.
and best of luck to you."
Yep.
And their hedge fund is closing, so pretty much go screw yourself if you don't like it.
Yeah.
There's some rough terms.
Yep. Yeah. So I think if we're seeing these little guys respond this way, this might be the little canary in the coal mine that the larger folks are going, oh man, because if they have to close positions, they're looking at not just billions of dollars, but like tens of billions or hundreds of billions of dollars just in current liability. That doesn't count what the price would do when it squeezes when they have to start closing. So the little guys they're done. They're like, oh, I'm out. We'll leave it to the bigger ones that might have like $300 billion in liability to be stuck with us.
Like Melvin Capital?
Yeah, like Melvin Capital. Yeah.
Geez, they needed a $2.7 billion loan, so I assure you they don't have $300 billion in liabilities.
Exactly. Yeah, they if they're 30-1 and they're a $12 billion hedge fund, looking at over $300 billion in liabilities for plays that they've made, and they were brazen. They went from minting these counterfeits because they got themselves market maker status. And they minted these counterfeits, and then all of a sudden they're like, screw it, we'll just keep borrowing, and they push the short interest over 230% or whatever it was, 270%,
yeah, it was
somewhere in there, and
right around there.
And that was just ballsy. That was them being like, oh, don't even bother anymore. This company is so done that we can just borrow. And
yeah, they thought they were going to just make GME completely toast before the end of the month, before the 35-day reporting period for,
yeah. Exactly.
Short interest, or I'm sorry, what's the short interest reporting period there? Is that like T14 or T7?
That's T14, I believe, because they do the report every other month, right? Or every other week.
You're right. Yep.
Yeah.
Good call, brother. That makes sense. So they were like, okay, they must have been really, really, like you said, they thought they had them by the proverbial balls there to be able to say, okay, they're going to be done in less than 2 weeks. No one's going to see that we shorted them 200+%.
Yeah.
Unreal. Talk about the greed, right? And then they wonder why people don't want to, sell off for $1,000 a share, $5,000 a share.
Exactly.
They've played games with our pensions and 401ks and investment accounts for way too damn long.
Yep. This is really the first instance where retail has the power, and
that never happens.
Someone made a good point in my chat on my show earlier today, where they said, if these guys had closed, what they'd be doing now is pumping the stock like crazy. Because if they closed, they would have jumped right back in, bought a bunch of shares to make the play of doing a squeeze, right? And because even if it was a pump and dump on their side, and because they're still like, it's not going to happen, you guys might as well get out now, tells me that they don't have the holdings to handle this, so, they never closed. Not only does the math show they never closed, but like their own like psyop is a big giant red flag that they have not done anything about closing.
Yep. Even the SEC report told us that shorts haven't covered.
Yep.
They said that it was pretty much all FOMO and people buying, and and then the buy button was pulled.
Yep. And the beautiful part of that was the SEC was like, well, they told us they closed, so. Which is kind of like, this is on you guys, it's not on us anymore. You said you closed, so we're gonna pretend like you did, and the market's just gonna do what the market does.
I think that's what they're kind of like, turning a blind eye and kicking back NSCC 2012-010 with the purposes of letting these hedge funds kind of go out of business and be the fall guy for the situation that we're seeing right now in the stock market.
Yeah, and because they testified under oath that they had closed and all these things, now they're on the hook for perjury and anything else. So if the economy does like just fall flat on its face, they have a perfect fall guy. They can be like, look at these hedge funds. These hedge funds were lying to us. They were duping us. They were engaged in naked short selling and using all these loopholes. And at least from the retail's perspective, where people keep trying to blame us for everything, that we've got them on record lying through their teeth.
Yep. Gary Gensler's got him caught. Yep. People like to give him shit about it. and I think he could definitely be doing more.
Yeah.
But I think he's doing just fine by letting retail get their revenge.
Yeah, and there's
I'm fine with that.
there's underlings in the SEC that longtime career guys that are upset that he's pursuing so much in regulating this stuff. They're like he's focusing on regulations too much. And what I get from that SEC filing, the GameStop report, is that they've got a whole bunch of rules and regulations that they're flushing out and having lawyers write that are going to be something that either they can hit the go button on when the time comes, or present it to Congress as actionable bills that can be passed to limit naked short selling, limit the amount of margin that these groups can play with. But right now, if they pass those bills, every single one of these hedge funds collapse all at once, and the SEC will be seen as the catalyst for the collapse. So they're waiting. They're waiting for the thing to fall out under its own and be like, look, we have all these things now we can use to fix the problems with. So we're just kind of, twiddling our thumbs, waiting for some sort of catalyst to happen, and then they can just dump all their new rules on everybody.
After the economy tanks, after the stock market tanks, after the mother of all short squeezes.
Yep.
And they could say, oh, look, the Department of Justice was investigating. The SEC has been passing new regulations. Pat ourselves on the back. We did a great job.
Exactly.
These hedge funds were we're at fault.
Exactly. And because you don't want the government to be blamed for the collapse by finally doing their job. They'd much rather post-mortem. The police aren't there to keep someone from robbing your house. They're there to take your report later.
To document it afterwards for your insurance company.
Exactly. Give that to your actuator. I'm out of here.
To serve and protect and beat you if you don't wear a mask.
So, yeah. Well, let's see. We probably have lots of people in the chat that are...
No, I love police officers. We're just joking around anyway. Don't take it all seriously, people.
I've got a Houston Wade Jr. I got my first meme in the chat, finally.
That's awesome.
And Houston Wade Jr. says, up to now, small hedge funds are closing shop. Are medium ones next, thereby foreshadowing a larger fund's inescapable fate? That's, that's a good gut feeling. That's kind of what I'm feeling. That the small guys are like, look, we're not going to be able to compete with this. Let's cut our losses now while the price is $140 or $25 or whatever. And because, come those yearlies in January, the price is probably going to be $350 for GameStop, if not more. And if they gotta start closing then, it ain't happening. Yeah, I mean, 4 million puts right now probably sold at a penny each for Anchorage. All right.
Yeah, Anchorage and Tiberian both announcing on the same day. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Anchorage Capital Group. They reported on August 17th as to being short AMC, Anchorage Capital Group.
Yep.
Awesome.
That was a what a play that was, huh, for them?
They fucked up.
Can you imagine being the guy trying to get a job at Goldman or someone after this, and they're like, "So, what'd you do at Anchorage Capital?"
Shorted AMC.
They'd be like, "I made coffee. I didn't really have much to do with what was going on over there. I was an intern.
That would probably look better on their resume at that point.
Yep. I drove the
That's
boss
fucking
around.
hilarious.
Yeah. I lost 8 billionaires all of their money. That's what they did. Okay. Oh man, the chat moves so fast I can't even keep up with these guys. Okay. So I guess we could talk about China.
There's all sorts of crap going down in China right now.
You are much deeper into who's liable for all these bonds on the foreigner side. than I am. I just know, like, I saw that one list of the Evergrande folks who bought bonds. You know, the big ones. You had Royal Bank of
Mhm.
Canada, Credit Suisse, BlackRock, like $43 billion or something in bonds there.
Yeah, UBS
Yeah,
and HSBC. Matter of fact, BlackRock has billions and billions of dollars invested there, and even Fidelity has $1 billion in exposure to Evergrande through a company called Select Equity Capital or Select Equity
mm.
Funding or something like that. So it doesn't mean that they're going to be in bad shape because of it, because I think they're properly hedged. But I think a lot of the others aren't so lucky,
Yeah,
like HSBC, which Citadel has a large ownership stake in.
yeah.
And then you've got others that I'm going to take a look at. I'm going to pull them up now so I can see them on the Bloomberg terminal.
Sure.
But I
If you
do
could
know
see credit
that
default swaps at all, like were they available for those, for them to hedge against? Like, could they go out and just buy a bunch of credit default swaps just in case?
I can try to take a look.
Okay.
I can't see if what exactly each one is categorized as, for example.
Yeah.
I just kind of more like a total investment
Hmm.
in those bonds.
Yeah.
So I don't know exactly what kind of derivatives they are.
Yeah. Or when expirations would be, or any of that stuff.
Right. But I think that's a good thing to kind of try to dig into a little further, because yeah, I could definitely, I do see the expirations
Yeah.
and the due dates, and they're coming up quick. The majority of them are in early of 2020, early 2022.
Hmm.
And the farthest dated ones are in 2023 and 2024.
Okay, so that's a lot of money not to be paid out to a lot of these groups in that short period of time.
Well, these banks that they have so much debt that, I'm sorry, these banks, these real estate developers have over $100 billion in debt due in the next 12 months.
Yeah.
And that's only the interest on their loans.
Yeah.
So they're just trying to pay the interest on these loans that they have to repay these as slowly as possible, and they still can't come up with that. So when you think about all the hundreds of billions that each of these developers has in Chinese dollar notes and RMB notes,
Yep.
it's a vast amount of money. Like, it's tens of billions to hundreds of billions per developer.
Yeah.
So, for example, BlackRock has $9.2 billion worth of Evergrande, right? And those are all going to be fucking worthless.
Yeah.
They've got $9.5 billion in Country Garden,
Mm-hmm.
and that's all going to be fucking worthless. And they've got 500 million worth of Kaiser bonds, who's are already, RD rated as well. So it's a slippery slope there, but they're all still saying that the Chinese economy is strong, and they're pushing the news that investing in China is a good investment. I think that's exactly the same thing that we saw happening in 2008.
Yeah, no, there's no housing crisis, no mortgage problem.
Right?
Yeah. The real estate bonds are huge. We're talking, I think ultimately there's like 3 trillion of them across all these developers that, there's this metastasizing cancer that's spreading through them all. And there isn't a single bond that's related to real estate in China that you can get at price. Like, all of them are being sold well below their actual value. Like,
oh yeah,
even the best rated ones are selling at like 93 cents on the dollar. And but that's not the big one to worry about that I was reading about. The big one is the municipal bonds, the local community bonds. There's over $8 trillion in bonds that these local communities took out to build train stations and bus stops and schools and sidewalks, and they're illegal. The Chinese government has a law that municipalities are not allowed to take out bonds at all. But they looked the other way for the last like 10 years because the big economy was booming. And now all these localities that are having the real estate market basically just the bottom fall out have no way of paying back $8 trillion in bonds that are owed to all of these banks and institutions around the world. None of that money came from China. It came from outside China. And so if you have the real estate market collapse, then you're going to have, you're looking at $10 trillion total perhaps between the two. They're not going to get paid back. That none of these banks are going to get their money. And then you have all these credit default guys and insurance companies that are going to go bankrupt trying to pay back, whatever guarantees they had on that stuff because they weren't planning on everything to go belly up at the same time. And,
Right.
This is what, 4 or 5 times what the mortgage crisis was in the U.S. that collapsed the global economy. So
It's a lot worse than that at this point. Yeah.
yeah,
That's like only like the visible things, because a lot of the rehypothecations are invisible. They're derivatives that we can't see. The majority of it is just artificial inflation, because they're side bet, taking on side bet, taking on side bet. So you got the main pot here, but at the same time, there's an extension of an entire table, an entire, tables, we'll call it whatever, roulette table, completely overflowing with chips and nothing but side bets alone off this one tiny little bet that you've got right here.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what each one of these developers is looking like. There have been, as of November, there have been over 400 Chinese real estate developers that have gone defunct in the last several years.
Yeah.
So I don't know what it looks like in December, but that's a scary number, because you have over 400 real estate developers quietly going out of business and bankrupt because the Chinese Communist Party owns the media in China, much like corporations own the media here in the United States.
Yep.
And
they can just like monitor and be like,
they monitor everything that comes and goes.
We're cool.
Mm-hmm.
Send money.
That's
to
why
China.
we're barely finding out about this shit now.
Yeah. Well,
just like wait.
When Archegos went belly up in February, March, it took about 4 weeks before the banks were like before they did the reports at the end of the quarter. They're like, all right, we're Credit Suisse is out $5 billion. Whoops.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah. So my guess is we'll probably see just before the first, everyone's starting to be like, hey, we have to write off 10 billion here. We got to write off 9 billion here. We got to write off 4 billion here. And we'll start to get those reports maybe before, like between Christmas and New Year's, because they need to get those write-offs done before the end of the quarter, so they can reduce taxes and make all the other plays that and there's probably a bunch of them that will defer. They'll figure out some sort of forbearance for these groups so that maybe they can write it off next year, because they can't have you probably can't have a group like Royal Bank of Canada, who is one of the largest banks in North America, and they're like, hey, we lost $14 billion since September. Like that they don't have the kind of cash to make up for that stuff. So they might issue a forbearance and pretend like that stuff is still on the books for at least another year until they can figure out some sort of, Deus Ex Machina to help facilitate God coming down and going, here's money. I don't know how they're going to do it.
Some good points. Yeah, that's a good point right there.
Someone sent me a super chat. Sorry, I'll make sure that I
nice.
Totally skipped by it. Where to go?
Jobs for the channel, guys. Appreciate y'all.
Chakuseki, thank you so much. Houston and Boss are comparable prior. Sorry. My eyes are terrible. Any comparable prior short squeezes you think MOAS will resemble? Also, should my friend Spencer and Tessa smoke this joint? Well, I'll leave at least the second part to Boss there.
What was the second part?
Should my friend Spencer and Tessa smoke this joint?
Oh, we don't peer pressure around here. All right. Let's put it that way. Peer pressure is not cool, brother.
But comparable short squeezes? No. Short squeezes have existed, but I don't think anything is comparable to what this is.
People like to compare Volkswagen, but you can't compare it because Volkswagen was a company that owned Porsche. Volkswagen owned this stock.
Yeah.
And they're going to make the smart choice. They're going to go to the government and they're going to talk with them and be like, yeah, we'll take a guaranteed 1,000 a share for every single one of his shares.
Exactly.
Instead of taking a gamble and maybe getting more or less for a portion of it. So,
yeah, but we got retail at this point. Porsche owns 76% of Volkswagen and locked up the float that way. And this time around, it's retail. So are they going to negotiate with retail the way they did?
Never going to happen.
Porsche? Yeah,
it's never going to happen. Yeah. They'll never be able to convince everybody to.
We're a bunch
of the
same
thing in any way.
They'd be like, government might come to me and be like, hey, Houston, how does $1,000 a share sound? I'm like, fuck you. I want $1 billion. Yeah. You can't. We're rabid dogs. You can't negotiate with a rabid dog. So you're just gonna have to like let it play. And the times there's been stocks that have been pumped to tens of millions of shares, they've been these really weird reverse split scams where some companies trade at like 10 cents a share, then they do like 1,000,000 to 1 reverse split and make their shares go through the roof. Because when they do that, all the people who have small amounts of shares get screwed and just get some like pennies for their shares, and then everyone else left, the executives who are left with large holdings have these gigantic amount of value in their like four shares that they own in their stock, because each one's worth like $60 million. But this MOAS is unique because this is a squeeze that's going to happen across 100 or 1,000 stocks, and there's ones we haven't heard of yet that may pop because these, something like Melvin has got $300 billion in liability, and this much of it might be GameStop, this much of it might be AMC, and down here you've got your Sears and Bed Bath and Beyond and whatever, Borders. I don't know who else might be in there. And when they get liquidated, they have to start buying and covering. Well, if they're liquidated, all of this liability basically goes to their prime broker and whatever investment bank was lending margin to them. So now those guys have to figure out how to close. And we've seen that Credit Suisse still has billions on the books from Archegos. They're like, we can't afford to close these positions. We don't have the money on hand to do it. So they're just stuck with this liability right now. So it'll be really interesting to see,
because it becomes unrealized at that point. At some point, they've got to. I'm sorry, because they're realized. Yeah. Right now, it's unrealized, and they're just trying to see what they can do to salvage that situation.
Exactly.
And try to make it look as, they're trying to polish a turd here, and at some point, it can only get so shiny. At some point, they gotta just
you shine
grab
it so
a pair
much,
of scissors,
this tiny little BB that you're just
It's too good.
I think if there's government intervention, it's going to be most likely the government saying, all right, you guys close this stuff. We'll just keep printing money and giving it to you until it's all closed and it's done with. I think it's less likely for them to negotiate some sort of closing price that, all these international investors and these huge funds around the world that are long on this are going to go, okay, we'll accept, pennies compared to what we should accept if this thing went to the moon. I think it's easier for those hedge funds to vaporize, the best investment banks to get their bailouts from the printers, and then the SEC dumps all their new rules and we start over.
Refresh the markets a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah.
That would be well needed. That's well needed, because we need these regulations in place. I was listening to Dave Lauer speak earlier about the SEC abolishing payment for order flow and believing that could be coming in the near future. So I think that's super bullish for, stocks and crypto in the near future as well. I think it's necessary.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot of rules that regard maybe payment for order flow, rules that possibly eliminate dark pools, period, and rules that slow down the market. When you've got these high frequency trading machines that are doing trades, buying and selling in fractions of a second, that does not create fair competition, because you and I can't do that.
Right.
Like, I can buy a stock, wait for it to be fulfilled, and then if I want to sell it again, I got all these weird day trading rules against me from doing it. And these guys, they can pump the same stock back and forth 1,000,000 times and affect the price however they want. And we can't do that. I don't have the ability to buy a supercomputer and put my computer as close to the exchange as possible so that I get those nanoseconds on top of everyone else. That, I am in favor of a rule that says if you do a trade with a stock, if you buy a stock, you have to hold it for 10 minutes or 5 minutes or something that just creates this speed bump lag that evens the playing field for everybody. And if you don't have the dark pools to play with, and you now have to put everything through lit exchange, now we can actually see what demand really is. And,
that's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We need this.
You know, we don't have superpowers, but these rich assholes do, and they can fuck us every single time.
It's all about that latency arbitrage.
Yep.
That nanosecond. That's all they need.
Yep.
You know, just that one split second, faster than you can blink, faster than you can think.
Yeah.
It is that quick. It's insane, really. It's not even fair.
It is beautiful, though, that arbitrage is what really effed them in the A on January 28th. Is that they're like, oh, I'll wait that one moment and I'll get this share for 1 penny less. And they waited that one moment and it was $10 more. And they're like, no. Well, if I wait another moment, oh, no, it's $30 more. Turn off the buy button. And rather than be like, hey, how about we just not do payment for order flow for 24 hours? How about we just...
They were so desperate.
Yeah, how about we just execute the order at cost for 1 day? But they're like, no. We must maintain this system that's draining billions of dollars in liquidity from our brokerage. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt if they have an off button now. Like that's probably the biggest lesson learned for all those trading apps, for Webull and Robinhood, that they have the ability to go, oh, the price is mooning, we'll just turn off the buy button for a second and let the FOMO play out before we do anything else. And not turn off the buy button, but turn off the payment for order flow button. I mean, if I were running things, that's what I would do, at least. But who listens to me? Bunch of people who don't have power at a brokerage, that's who. Yeah.
Not yet, my friend.
Yeah.
Working on a broker dealer by the name of Lit Exchange. So that should be dropping really in 2022 if all goes well.
Ooh, nice.
But definitely focused on the no payment for order flow and no dark pools.
Yep.
So even if we use internalizers, we plan to send it through a lit market at the end, no matter what.
So would it be like a flat fee, trading fee, anything like that?
There's going to have to be commissions, of course, but just kind of just like options, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's pennies on the dollar. So it's definitely well worth it to understand that you're getting the best price execution and your trade's not being held for up to 28 days before it's being processed.
That's the other bullshit is that these guys, they can hold billions in trades and wait for a price spike to go by before they ever execute and deliver. And then they get like a $700,000 fine. It's like...
Yeah. Well, put it this way, Citadel got caught committing between 2012 and 2014, committing over 500 million wash sales, which is basically selling themselves a share.
Yeah.
And it could be more than one share. A wash sale could be hundreds or even thousands of shares. It's just one sale.
Yeah.
So they literally were probably trading billions and billions of shares, and that fine cost them $115,000. Yeah. So that $115,000 comes out to about 27 to 28 cents per wash sale, which they probably made, many, many, many dollars off of each.
Yeah. And
it's the cost of doing business nowadays.
Yeah, the SEC needs to change their rules and regulations. Like, me rolling through a stop sign should not cost less than them stealing $4 billion. Or cost more than them stealing $4 billion.
Cost more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
that's fucked up.
It's theft is what it is. And they're just like, it's, what's that old adage that if the punishment for a crime is a fine, then it's just the cost of doing business, or I don't know Yeah,
absolutely right.
Yeah, it's detrimental. If I had to pay $115,000 for a fine, I'd be screwed. That's that is absolutely would make me destitute. And these guys, their bonuses are tens of millions of dollars a quarter per trader, per manager. They don't care. Like, Sinchan Super Chats, my top 3 list of people who add a wrinkle to my brain: Houston Wade, Boss Blunts, and Charlie's Vids. There you go.
That's cool.
Yeah.
We're glad to hear that. Thanks.
And then someone is now bullish on Houston's second intro because I fart up and I actually do my intro all the time. Hey, HW, what is Mr. Blunt's take on how high the peak on AMC will be and why with such a huge float? So
Well, let's put it this way. Nobody knows what the peak is going to be, right? The only thing I can really explain is theoreticals, because that's all it
yeah,
is theoreticals at this point. There's enough, in my opinion, there's enough synthetic shares on AMC, because that's what you asked about, to get fractional shares sold in the millions of dollars. Over $1 million per fractional share does not seem out of the question or extraordinary to comprehend at this point. For those of you that are unaware, there are some YouTube videos and some tweets and photos of people selling fractional shares of fractional shares of GameStop when GameStop was trading in the 300 and 400s, selling fractional shares for $5,000.
yeah,
So it's not unheard of to see some fractional shares going for significantly higher than the actual float. I'm sorry, than the actual trading price and bid-ask spread when buying is so rampant and there's not enough shares available to be picked up.
yeah.
So I definitely could see the price getting into the millions, but I'd be happy if it went six figures. Let's put it that way. Be happy if it went six figures. That'd be nice.
Yeah, I as long as it's enough for me to just sit on a beach, I'm good to go. like, uh, it's very rare to be able to like ignore things. You know, that's the life I want to get to. Is like I don't have to answer the phone. I don't have to. No, I don't. I don't want to go in today. I don't have to. I'm gonna sit here, stare off into space, and it may not necessarily mean I will do that, but it's like having a Ferrari. You're not going to go 200 miles an hour, but it's nice to know you can.
Yes, exactly. It's nice to know you can.
Yeah.
You don't have to.
Yeah, I don't have to worry about student loans. I don't have to worry about rent. I don't have to, like, the worries just go, and then I can turn my brain to, like, mashed potatoes and be a lecherous wanker. I don't know. Like, the depraved life that we all deserve to live at some point.
You say that now,
Yeah.
but you'll still be doing the same things you're doing now, having
I
a blast.
know.
You'll just have the money to do everything that you want to do on the side.
Exactly. Like I can afford to finally rent that sailboat and sail the Dalmatian coast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can actually go to the Seychelles rather than talk about going there someday. Yeah.
Without batting an eye.
Yep. Yeah, that'd be really nice. I have some friends who are cajillionaires, and you know they just hop on a plane and go to their house in the Bahamas. And they hop on the plane and go to their house in Belize, and they hop on a plane and go to their house in Maui, and they go to their ranch in Montana. It's like, cool. Mm-hmm. Good for you. Take me along. But I you know, who wouldn't want it? Who would like to experience that? Wouldn't you, monkey? That'd be great.
Nothing wrong with doing that, you know, with enjoying your riches.
Yeah.
Especially well earned. Because I know when this is over, a lot of people are going to say, you got lucky. Oh, you're so lucky, you know, that you did that. And we're just going to be like, fuck you. I'm not lucky.
I told you.
I worked for it.
Yeah.
we put our hard-earned money on the line, not knowing what was going to happen, you know, with conviction of what we believe would happen.
Yeah.
And proved to be right.
Yeah.
Just like Deep fucking Value did when GameStop was in $3 and kept fucking buying and looking up ISDA contracts.
Yep.
We were doing the exact same thing. We're looking up the ISDA contracts. We're seeing the married puts, the divorced puts, the way they're hiding failures to deliver, the ETFs being shorted for AMC and GameStop, the whole fucking 9 yards. And just because mainstream media wants to come out and collude with hedge funds and market makers because they have a lot of money to do so and are most owned by them, does not mean that we don't have the ability to see what's actually going on the stock market and in these companies.
Yeah.
If you take the numbers given from the number of people that registered, for example, for Say Technologies, that gives us an average of around 1,000 shares per person. That would equal, if there's 4.1 million AMC shareholders per Adam Aaron's email and a shareholder count, that would be equivalent to around the float having been sold about 8 to 10 times over.
And that was just U.S. shareholders, right? Didn't count international, I think.
Well, it's 4.1 million registered shareholders for AMC. I'm not sure if international shareholders were able to register because they hold depository receipts.
Exactly.
And not shares of AMC, and technically.
Traditionally, international investors are 40% of all investment in the U.S. market. So, take that.
I guarantee you.
4.1 million, add another couple million to it.
That's true. Yeah. But even if we stay conservative, right? If we go 4.1 million, using the average number of shares we got from say technologies coming out at around 1,000 shares a person, that's 4.1 million shares. I'm sorry, 4.1 billion shares. And the float is only 513 million.
Yeah.
So it's almost 10x right there.
Yep.
It's almost too simple to put 2 and 2 together. And a lot of people want to put their head in the dirt or pretend like they can't fucking see it, or just think that that one stock is better than another. I think is kind of nonsense, because the hedge funds didn't give a shit about one stock or the other.
Yeah.
They see them all as a way and a means of making money, and the goal was the same for both of these stocks.
Oh, yeah.
And it was to drive them into the dirt so they would make mad capital gains.
Others that they've been shorting. Yeah.
What happens is when stocks like go out of business, like Blockbuster, there is nothing left. And I know Houston, you've talked about this plenty of times. There's nothing that has to be bought back, because all these synthetic shares that were sold, nothing has to be bought back. None of these short positions need to be covered. So that's all straight profit, many, many times over the actual legitimate amount of profit that would normally be there, because everything was multiplied times 10, times 20, times 30. And here we are.
All right, I got a couple super chats just jumped in here.
Sure.
Meow Meow asks, do either of you ever think a true short squeeze has ever happened to completion? I think meaning closing out all the nakeds and FTDs and all of that. That's I have to think about that, because like VW trades in Frankfurt, so they've got different rules on generating naked shares in Europe than we do here, which means you can't do it. So like that squeeze was due to pure borrowing of shares. Like people borrowed shares, borrowed shares, shorted, and then the squeeze got squozed. In the U.S., I can't think of one. We've got squeezes that happen. Newegg shot to $77 within a matter of days last spring, summer. But it wasn't. I don't think that all those nakeds and FTDs got covered. I think there was a few guys that like, oh shoot, we got to deliver. We can't do any swaps. Crap, and they had to buy. Or their broker did the buying for them. They're like, we're going to liquidate these holdings and do this many millions of dollars in buying. This whole situation for the last 30 years, they've been naked short selling like crazy, and I can't. I think it's this. This is the comeuppance. This is the 30 years of naked short selling. It's all going to come to fruition in one giant cataclysmic, insane event, and there's going to be an old couple in a dilapidated house in Appalachia that had a bunch of stock in some forgotten lawnmower company, and they're going to wake up millionaires one day because this defunct company, all of a sudden, all these shares have to be closed out, and the liquidations are happening. And I just think it's going to be weird, and the nightly news is not going to know how to explain it. They got to explain that fourth grade level, and they're just going to be like, the economy's weird. I don't know. Joey Alford. He says, what about Adam Aaron sailing? Why should we hold if he isn't? That's his thing. And the board in general, I've complained about them quite a bit, that they're selling. They're not holding. The GME board has grown their holdings by 5% this year. What do you think there?
Adam's 67 years old, man.
Yep.
And he's got millions and millions of shares of AMC, and he gets paid in shares of AMC. So he's got to liquidate some of it anyway. It makes perfect sense, especially for a man of 67.
Yep.
He's not trying to YOLO all of his savings on this squeeze because he can't just go to his broker and be like, all right, I want to sell, $1 billion or $10 billion worth right now. They've got to file paperwork and process it ahead of time. So it's not like something they can just immediately sell at a given price as insiders for the most part without being scrutinized heavily by the SEC and other regulatory bodies. So it's smart for Adam Aaron. I know it's smart for Jeff Bezos, and it's smart for Elon Musk to sell shares of their companies. Granted, Elon is able to execute options, call options that are expiring. I believe there might be warrants, but I know that there are some possible expiring options that he's able to execute with some of that money, and then still have plenty of money left over to pay taxes and do other things with. And Adam Aaron has plenty of money as well that I think he needs to diversify. So it has to happen. Whereas Ryan Cohen's half his age. Yeah, he's not going to retire anytime soon.
Yeah. All right. Decider asks, do y'all think capital gains matter to the government at this point? And is there a new low, example 40 plus, to create squeezes? So part one, do you think capital gains matter to the government? I mean, if I were a bean counter at the government, I would want to, get an extra couple $100 billion out of this. That makes sense to me. And then new low, for example, 40 plus, to create squeezes. So like dropping the price of say GME back down to 40 so that people can buy back in again. Is that what you're asking, the Decider? I don't know. How do you interpret that?
Regarding the government, hang on a second. I got a lot of questions here. I was wondering, it's the one about capital gains?
Yes. Decider.
Do you think capital gains matter to the government at this point? Well, I don't think they care about capital gains. I think that the federal, the Fed and the Treasury is aware of what's going on, and it would make sense for them to want to collect on their portion of taxes from people that are going to pay capital gains instead of letting this go on longer. Plus, it's kind of out of their hand as well. Like this whole Evergrande situation can only go on for so long.
Yeah.
But they've kind of all got to play ball for now.
Yep.
And at some point here, I expect something crazy to happen before Christmas. So
I think you're right. I think that there's going to be a bunch of announcements coming before the end of the year that there's going to be, maybe not guys necessarily jumping from their high rises, but a bunch of them probably wish they would.
Yeah, who knows? That kind of shit might be happening.
Yeah. Meow Meow asks, could this MOAS cripple the entire financial system? Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The numbers thrown around, if we do infinity pool and we're at millions a share across several stocks, tens of thousands for other stocks, if these things are flying high and we're expecting to see volumes of billions of shares trading at 5, 6, 7 figures, the market is, no one's going to know how to respond to a situation like that. There's no like binder for doing the playbook on this. Everyone's going to be winging it, and it's just sit back and watch the show. That's kind of, we're small fry. That's all we can do. We can buy, hold, and wait. And I don't know. We could speculate as to how it's going to unfold, but however any of us, you, me, anyone else imagines it goes, there's going to be some wrench in the gear that throws.
It's going to be different.
Yeah.
Yep. There's always unknowns. And crazy shit that happens.
Yeah.
We can only speculate as to when. We can't really speculate as to exactly how.
Exactly.
I would say definitely expect a lot of halts just to scare people and try to shake people out and allow manipulation of dark pools, because I believe dark pools can still be used when price is halted. But I could be wrong there. I'm pretty sure that's what the filings say.
Yeah, There's plus people keep asking me questions about like, oh, they have the ability to reserve a halt up for 30 days or whatever. But I think that they want to get this over with when it does happen. They just want to just get it over with, be done with it, rip that Band-Aid. And if they're doing a 30-day halt on GME or AMC, then they've got 30 days of buy orders or sell orders that are going to pile up. And the minute they take that hold off,
oh yeah, it's just going to get worse.
yeah. What you would be having a volume of, say, 100,000 shares a minute, all of a sudden would open up at 100 million shares a minute. It'd be a disaster. I don't think doing that kind of halt would be in anyone's best interest.
I would say that when these halts begin, I know you and me and a lot of other people out there are going to be sharing it on all sorts of different platforms.
Yep.
And everyone else watching this is going to be sharing it in one way or another. And the world is going to be going nuts seeing what the fuck is happening, because it's not once, it's not twice, it's going to be the third time that AMC and GameStop are getting out of control. And with the situation we've got with the Chinese real estate market, with the supply chain issues that we've got with inflation, the Fed tapering, all sorts of things at hand, including China, Taiwan, Russia, Ukraine, things we haven't even touched on yet, that at any moment are going to switch the directions of the market. And as you've seen, they've been bleeding slowly as changes are being made every single day here for the last couple of weeks, and what did we end up having a green day today on the market?
Yeah. Everyone's
because of the Fed Reserve good news, which was bullshit anyway.
It was like
Powell.
Yeah, it's like it's more like mommy kissing your wound to make it feel better.
I hate you, Paul.
Yeah, we have a. I was thinking about like if they do a 30-day halt, which would be dumb, so dumb. But you remember when the millennium turned, and they sold all these like little keychains that had countdown clocks to the new millennium and stuff like that, and like little things like that. I just imagine like, okay, it's a 30-day halt. Everyone's gonna make little websites that are like, countdown to going to the moon, and people are gonna be thinking like, okay, yeah, we got T minus 30 days. T minus 29 days, T minus 4 hours, 15 minutes. When that market opens, this thing unhalts, we're going to the moon. And that's going to be the mentality of everybody. So, they just got to let it go. Got to let it happen and clean up the mess afterwards. Just do the postmortem. The fact that they turned off the buy button is what F'd them in the A this time around. Because January 20th of last year, people would have accepted $1,000 a share for these stocks, be like, cool, I won. But they turned off the buy button, and they're like, wait a minute. They didn't close. Fuck it. I want $1 million. I want $10 million. I want $50 million a share. And so, they do anything whatsoever that's nefarious or shady like that this time around, they're just going to make it 10 times worse, because they have a whole bunch of more people that are FOMOing and getting in. It's going to be a second wave, and you have 50% more investors than you did before. And it's just going to get worse.
What he said. What he said. Times 10.
Michael Hernandez, what do you guys think of Dr. Marco Metzler confirming MOAS before Christmas? So you've actually talked with him. I have not met him. I just recently followed him, so I have no idea about the dude, his past. He just sort of appeared in the last month on my radar.
He's awesome. He's a former Fitch ratings analyst, and he is now, he now has his own analyst company and works with Deutsche Market Screening Agency out of Germany, I believe. And the guy's very well known. He's got a PhD in economics, and he's one of the top dogs in the field. Plain and simple. Google him if you don't know who he is. To those in the chat, but let's put it this way: he did his due diligence and realized these, Evergrande bonds are bogus. Yeah. And we've been talking about that for a long time as well. Like nobody said that they've got their fucking bondholder payment except for the Chinese Communist Party owned media. Yeah. And that's obvious bullshit. And sure enough, here comes Dr. Metzler to confirm that, and then goes out and gets bonds of his own and for his own rating agency, and ends up realizing, yeah, nobody's getting fucking paid. We need to do something about this because they're over 129 international banks hold bonds.
Oh no, you froze. You froze on my end. No, come back, boss. Hopefully it's not my internet that did it, but the stream seems to be doing fine. Uh-oh. Boss, you getting tornadoes out there in the Midwest? What's going on? Can you hear me? Oh no, where'd he go? We lost him. Shoots. Well, I'll try to see if maybe he can jump out and jump back in. But let's see here. Let's see. Oh, yeah, he's gone. I'll see if he jumps back in here and finishes his thought on the doctor. So, while we wait, guess what we can do? Well, that killed 14 seconds. There we go. Boss is playing red light, green light, and undisclosed location. Let's see if he jumps back in here and can join. No message there yet. So, all right, well, we could talk. We can chit-chat for a little bit and see if he comes back. If not, well, then that might be it for the evening. Kenny G cut the wires. Did I miss anybody's super chat? I think we were talking about. Okay, Dr. Marco was the last super chat, so at least we're up to date on those. Let's see here. What we got? Other people were saying the boss is lost. The boss is lost here. Grape Ape, blackouts and halts can't hurt us, considering that they can't close if we can't sell. Exactly. Let's see if maybe boss's internet may have just gone out entirely because I haven't heard from him at all. Power surge. All right, so computer's rebooting. All right, word. Okay. So he'll be coming back here and requesting to join the Zoom here in a second, and I'll get him back in. The problem Houston has is he lost the guess. Here we go. All right, get him back in here. There we go. All right, you're back. You just froze in mid talk. So you're talking about 139 banks hold something.
Oh, Evergrande bonds.
Yeah.
Evergrande bonds, hundreds of billions of dollars worth. That's insane. And when you've got that many banks holding these Evergrande bonds, it's obvious that it's going to have a contagion effect because it's like these side bets that we were talking about earlier. Yeah. It's not just what's on the pot, as of their available assets and liabilities, but it's all the side bet derivatives in the hundreds of billions, which is, 10x, 20x, 30x, their actual, revenues, assets, liabilities combined. So it's awesome that Dr. Metzler came out and did due diligence on Evergrande. And he also did due diligence on AMC and GameStop. And I was lucky enough to be able to figure out some of the answers that he was looking for and vice versa.
Yeah.
So we ended up collaborating on some of this stuff to figure out what special purpose vehicles were being used by the federal government to put money into, which allows BlackRock and other funds to use the federal government money legally through these special purpose vehicles to buy these Evergrande bonds and Kaiser bonds, Country Garden, et cetera, as well as other players, HSBC, UBS, all of these companies are implicit in what's happening here. And it's not just Evergrande, there's dozens currently. There's like 30 that I'm looking at right now that are all negative day after day after day.
Yeah, we got 6 that have definitely defaulted, right? We've got Sicknick, Evergrande, Kasia, however you say it.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I can't remember all of them.
Kaiser, Country Garden,
Something like that. There's like Chinese
Evergrande.
Property Group or something.
Mhm.
And these are like the second largest, 13 largest, fifth largest property holders in China. And who's the one that's the biggest? I don't know who the biggest is.
It's Evergrande.
I thought they were number 2 on the
No,
Chinese
number
property
one.
list. They're number 1. Okay,
Yeah, Evergrande's the largest.
so
Yeah, Evergrande's the largest property developer in China, and all the other ones they're right behind them though. It's
yeah,
like every other one of them is right. They're all going down together.
yeah,
And then it's the subsection of people that work not just for these companies, these 400 plus companies that have gone defunct over the last couple of years,
yeah,
real estate developers in China, but it's also the people that supply them with raw goods, raw materials, finished materials and labor and all sorts of other things that are now not being used at all because it was just an artificial pump of the Chinese
yeah.
economy
Build these ghost
and
cities
American
and they'll come.
economies and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, so the Chinese and American stock markets were both artificially pumped, as well as the real estate and the Chinese markets, real estate markets in both China and America, and they kind of helped each other out. And it's at the point where neither one of them can sustain this any longer.
Yeah.
The real estate developers can't keep this up. The Chinese Communist Party can't bail them out because there's too many of them.
yeah,
They've got their own $8 trillion, government federal vehicle problem.
yep,
So what's happening here is an absolute global financial crisis
yeah.
that is most likely to cause some of the worst financial runs ever seen in all of our lives. I assure you that.
It's going to be wild because there's that big contagion of the trillions of dollars in these Chinese bonds that are going to go. But on top of that, we've got a corporate debt bubble that's absolutely bonkers. These companies for the last, I don't know, 7-8 years have been using every piece of penny they can get, because they're terrified of getting shorted out of existence. So these mid caps and bigger, they're taking out loans. They're using all of their profits to buy back their own stock and inflate their stock price. And so they haven't been investing in research development. They haven't been giving sizable dividends, and they're taking out debt to do it. So when they lose access to that debt because there's a credit crunch, they can no longer keep their stock prices pumped up artificially, and it's going to go back to where it should be. And the net losses of assets under management for all these companies when that happens is going to be huge. You might have a company, I'm just going to pull one on my butt, like GE. Their stock price was at like $12, and they did this reverse split, and it got to $100. And they're talking about now I'm going to split up into 3 different companies, and they haven't been able to give out a dividend in years because they've been basically taking out loans and propping up their stock price for a long time. And if that's what they're doing, then when they don't have access to this capital anymore, how are they going to pump up the price? You've got big companies like Microsoft have lots of cash on hand, so they're doing a $60 billion stock buyback program right now. Dell is doing the same thing. You got a bunch of tech companies that have the cash on hand that are now doing it because they see that the market's going to collapse, and they want to be one of the few that don't see their share price get hit big time. But the mid caps and smaller don't have the cash on hand to do this stuff, so they're going to get obliterated.
That's why a lot of these institutions and hedge funds are moving their money from small cap and mid caps into large cap companies.
Yeah.
Even at the moment, it's still a better ride for them right now to try to manipulate it and hedge in both directions. We're seeing record amounts of puts on the SPY and other markets.
Well, like the NASDAQ 100, something like 55% of the NASDAQ 100 is the top 5 stocks, and the other 95 stocks are like, so it's being kept afloat by Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Tesla, and Facebook. And the rest of the stocks in there are dying. But the NASDAQ 100 doesn't look that bad because those 5 other stocks are keeping everything afloat. But
I think that's why it was so funny when Elon Musk was selling off shares willy nilly over there for Tesla. That's great.
yeah.
Got another question here, though, Houston, if you want to take the questions, man. Oh, somebody reminded me that Country Gardens was number one. And yeah, I probably got it mixed up. Country Gardens is one, Evergrande is two. I may have been mistaken there.
Okay. All right. I was like, I thought I read their number two, but they have,
Very far right.
yeah, the number two, and they control something like 4% of all the land in China, something like that. I can't remember what the exact number it was. The Chinese government's the largest landowner, and these property groups, I don't think technically own the land. They're like long-term leases or something. So
everybody in China leases the land from the Chinese Communist Party, right? Yeah. So yeah, they're just long-term leases.
Yeah,
at great prices, and it's in the Chinese Communist Party for them to default because they can liquidate, pay off Chinese people and their own bondholders within their country.
Exactly,
and then give a lot of stimulus to their economy by giving out this real estate to other companies and people that are owed it, as well as fucking over international bondholders in America and Europe and other places.
Yeah,
that is financial warfare.
Yeah,
that's it.
And then and they basically get to sell this land twice. They lease it out one time around, defaulted, you lease it out again to new investors, and do it all over again. So
the never-ending mortgage-backed security, which is what 2008 got us here.
Yep.
Right. None of those mortgage-backed securities from then really have been closed out properly. No, it's all been rolled in further derivatives. Yeah, we just repackaged.
We this summer, people are doing lots of work on this, and they're seeing that like, oh, look at these Washington Mutual and Lehman Brothers and Bear Stearns mortgage-backed securities that are bouncing around, Wachovia. Yeah. Like these things don't exist anymore. It's been 14 years and they're still trading them and using them in swaps, and yeah, it's nuts. Like I just can't. It just blows my mind how messy the books are. And there's like a forensic accountant who is just pulling his eyeballs out when he looks at the stuff, and he's deep in the basement of some building in Wall Street, and he's like, how why does this still exist? And his boss is like,
happening?
Fudge it. Yeah.
We're in shock. Yeah. That's like Michael Burry right now. Like, what the fuck's going on? How is this stupid market still being propped up by this reverse repurchase program and these shitty Chinese bonds?
Yeah.
Just let the bonds sink already.
Exactly. Yeah. Just let it happen. Meow meow. Is this why AMD, Nvidia, Apple, and all blew up in the last 2 months? Yeah, because they're leaving those small tech stocks and they're jumping into the big ones, the ones that are definitely the survivors. Because and people are going to play video games. People are going to mine crypto coins. Nvidia's fine. Apple makes, the number one selling phone in the world. They're fine. AMD, again, video games, processors, they're fine. Everyone's going to need all that stuff. So, no revolution. Atari is up. Woo! Shake my head. Why? Because they're a zombie.
Atari, gotta love it. Yeah,
they're a zombie stock. The zombie stocks, they never close their positions, so as long as people are still holding on some of that stuff, it can still, see a weird jump and go from a fraction of a penny to 5 cents and then make somebody a millionaire that way. I think Atari's on that restricted list that was put into the expert exchange, expert market, whatever. So they're with Blockbuster and Sears and Lehman Brothers and all those guys that are in there. Yeah. So,
that's never stopped them yet, right?
Yep.
It hasn't stopped them at all.
Hasn't stopped anyone.
Neither has SSR. Because even on SSR, they can just claim short exempt.
Yep.
Short exempt status. Issue shorts.
AS asks, Houston and Boss, do you guys know that China and Russia just agreed to make their own finance system off of SWIFT today? Go look it up. World's walking away from the U.S. dollar. Well, yeah, they want our dollar to collapse. That's their goal. That's the best way to attack us, is to make the dollar worthless. And we aren't making it hard for them. we're like, let's make the dollar worth less than anything in the entire world. Yeah, we're making it really easy for them to do that. And Nick Goad, think we'd see some brands come back. How does that work? I mean, I keep getting these ads for Radio Shack on my social media feed. And it's like, Radio Shack is back, and they're just trying to sell me T-shirts. So I'm not really sure Radio Shack understands what they sell anymore. If like all they try to sell me is a T-shirt that says Radio Shack on it, but it's maybe Radio Shack's doing a Kickstarter. I don't really know what they got going on there.
They've been trying for a while.
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening there either.
Well, I mean, we had a Radio Shack that survived in my community for 40 years or whatever. And I went in one day because I needed a 50-foot Ethernet cable. And, this is before Amazon was selling 50-foot Ethernet cables and things like that. And so I was like, oh, Radio Shack sells Ethernet cable. I go in there, and Radio Shack wanted $9 a foot.
Oh, wow.
And I was like,
yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah,
that's why they went out of business.
It's like, I can't do that. So next door was a Rite Aid. And I went to Rite Aid and I was like, do you have Ethernet cable? They're like, yeah, over there by like the headphones and stuff. 50-foot Ethernet cable was $9 total. So it was
right.
50x for Radio Shack. And they're like, I don't understand we're going out of business. Well, yeah, because you're going to only get the dumbest people in the world buying your products. All right, Carbon Maximus. Everything is finally falling into place as we welcome asteroid 4660 Nereus. Yeah, that one's coming. That's going to be like 2 million miles away. We'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about that asteroid. That's the asteroid you don't see coming is the one you got to worry about.
You mean like the Chinese hyperballistic missile?
Yeah, one of those. One of those making nothing but another 5 million pieces of space junk that eat up our entire space. And Dennis Bellarose sends us a punching hippo. Thank you. Thank you, Dennis. Yeah. Apes will reopen Toys R Us for sure. Headquarters and Citadel's old offices. I like that one, Jay. Yeah, we're doing well. We got almost 1,000 viewers in here. This is
I want to get a beer, man. I got to hang out with you guys still for a little while, so need a refreshment. That's for sure.
All-time high reverse repo today. Yeah, reverse repo is 1.6 trillion today. Oops.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is incredible. It's a sign of the times.
Yeah.
The reverse repurchase being at 1.6 trillion, which it happened before, but not quite this high.
Yeah.
That's just shows the amount of liquidity on hand that these banks have to keep, and their unwillingness to spend it on anything more. They've got so much money available to them.
Well, I think it's just like, you see a disaster on the horizon, and like there's a famine coming. Maybe I should eat all my food now. No, they know that they're gonna be spending that money because they've got so many bad actors under them that they were dumb enough to lend, however many $800 billion in margin or something in the last 6 months or whatever it is. It's ridiculous. The amount of margin that's being traded has doubled in the last 18 months worldwide. That's not sustainable. Like the stock market hasn't doubled in the last 18 months. So why expect somehow to get your money back out of this? It's gone. Poof. It's like when I knew the housing crisis was going to hit in 2006, and I was actually writing a book. I was in college, and I was like, I'm writing a book about how the market is going to collapse, and the market collapsed before I could have a chance to finish it because I had homework and other things to do. But
you started it. You were on it.
There was a headline. I was visiting my brother down in Orange County, California, over like summer or something, and there's a celebratory headline that was like, "We did it! The average house price in Orange County is $600,000," and then like everyone in Orange County is high-fiving each other. The average wage in Orange County was $60,000. So how the hell are they going to sustain a $5,000 a month mortgage on all these houses? They can't. And I was like, that's it. We're done. There's no way that anyone is going to get out of this thing. You're toast. and that was the writing on the wall for me. So I'm seeing, however many trillions in margin being utilized for making these trades, and
Yeah.
it is so far above the value of the market itself that they're done. That's it.
Right. It's literally 10 times worse than it was in '08. So it's not even a question of if, it's a question of when
Yeah.
at this point.
Like, '08, the big problem was that banks had liabilities that were greater than 10 to 1. And some of them, were 20 to 1. And now every single hedge fund is at 30 to 1 or greater. And if you're doing stuff in crypto, you're at 100 to 1. So
The fucked up thing is these prime brokers are at 100 to 1 too. Look at Goldman Sachs.
yeah, 133 to 1 on the derivatives, right?
Exactly.
So
exactly. That's insanity. Having $100 trillion worth of derivatives with only $2 trillion in assets is the most asinine, ridiculous, criminal thing I could possibly imagine.
Which is why Archegos was able to drop their stock price like 20%. That was one family fund.
Yeah.
Right? That's one family fund. They've got 100 other hedge funds that they're prime brokers for. And all of them, not all of them. Let's say 90% of them are going to evaporate. So we're gonna be in the need to like mint some new investment banks after this, because several of them are not going to exist anymore unless they get serious bailouts. Wells Fargo won't exist. They're done. Bank of America won't exist. They're done. JP Morgan, the smartest thing JP Morgan ever did was remove themselves the DTCC. They're like, we're out, because they have their own problems. They don't want to be responsible for everyone else's problems in this little clubhouse they formed. It's however this unfolds, it's going to blow everyone's minds. I'm just waiting for the unknowns that we were talking about to happen, because there's going to be like weird things that pop up. And
you just said something really smart here that I need to ask you about. What the hell you told me? Hold on. You just stated that JP Morgan, when they separated themselves from the DTC in the filings a few months back, maybe 5 months ago at best, 4 months ago probably.
It was this summer, whenever it was, yeah.
Yeah. That was actually a really smart move on JP Morgan's part. And I had an inclination why, but let me pick your brain, brother. Okay. Why do you believe it was a good idea?
Well, the way the DTCC is organized, you have all these members, and the old rules were, if this guy dies, these members are now responsible for their obligations. That's kind of like the insurance policy. I have a guy that's an insurance actuator that every time I use that term sends me messages like, it's not actually an insurance policy, but it's
we know that it's just a term.
It's a fallback. It's a chain of command. I don't know how to call it. And I think JP Morgan looked at the members of the DTCC and saw, these members can look at their competitors or compatriots, whatever you want to call them, and they can see their books better than we can. And I think they looked at and saw the liabilities of everyone else that was a part of this thing, and they're like, no, we got to create our own clearinghouse, because we cannot survive our own problems, let alone their problems. And what Jamie Dimon does, JP Morgan Chase, is he lets his competition eat shit, and then he scoops them up for, a third of a cent on the dollar. That's what he did to Washington Mutual. Washington Mutual died. They had $300 billion in assets, and he went to the FDIC and said, I'll buy it for $1 billion. And the FDIC said, sure, here you go. And they assumed the assets of the largest savings loan in the world for 1/3 of a cent on the dollar. I mean, that's how you do it. And so JP Morgan will gobble up Merrill Lynch and Bank of America. They'll gobble up Goldman Sachs, because it's just like they gobbled up Bear Stearns. They're the ones that agreed to take on all of their positions and just let everything else just fritter away into nothingness. That's Jamie Dimon's opera. He's a vulture.
And that's why we have a Chase Bank on every corner in most cities in the United States.
And, some of the other banks tried doing this stuff. Wells Fargo picked up Wachovia and whatnot, but they also were playing a terrible game themselves. So they weren't just being
Wells Fargo made a lot of mistakes.
They screwed over their customers and made all those accounts, and they did a lot of boo-boos in there, and that's why they're not. They sold off their brokerage arm this year, didn't they?
You sure did.
Yeah.
Wells Fargo, yep, and they also closed a lot of savings accounts.
Yeah, and they eliminated personal lines of credit. They eliminated home equity loans. They eliminated car loans. They eliminated 5 of their 7 credit cards. They're in their own self-imposed credit crunch because they don't have the cash on hand to actually give out loans, which is the business model of a bank, is giving out loans. So if you can't afford to give out a loan, you're no longer a bank.
There was a guy there. There is a guy in our Discord who just told me earlier today that he has an account with Wells Fargo, and I won't name his name, but I bet you already know who I'm talking about because they're listening from our chat too, in the Discord. And he told me he's got an account with a positive balance with a good amount of money in it. That Wells Fargo sent him a letter saying they're closing it.
Yeah,
he uses it regularly. He's got money in it. Why the fuck is Wells Fargo closing his account? They sent him a letter, and he's going to call and figure out why the hell they're telling him they're going to close it. Like, this is very concerning, I would say. Like, I've heard several people tell me some interesting things, and this isn't just a savings account; it's an actual, banking account. Yeah. Like, I'm sorry, this isn't a credit line; it's an actual bank savings account. It's like, kind of fucked up.
It's. I don't understand anything that's going on. Where I live is a very wealthy suburb of Seattle. Like, where I've got neighbors who are billionaires, like several of them, and Bank of America. Its branch hasn't been open, or is open only like 1 day a week because they can't find anybody to work. So
I had to close my shit over there because the service is so bad at Bank of America. Yeah, they're not even open anymore.
So you're running one of the largest banks in the entire world in a community that has got some cajillionaires, and you can't give them access to their accounts. Like, how incompetent do you have to be? It's because they don't have any money. They can't pay. Like, the bankers who were working there, like, yeah, dude, I'm not. They want to pay me $15 an hour. I'm not doing that. And Bank of America, like, pay me $20 an hour and I'll do it. Bank of America's like, no, $16.50 is as high as I can go. And they're like, no, I can wait tables for $50 an hour rather than, work in your bank and get yelled at by customers all day for 15 or whatever. It's, they're done. I just see like the necrotized flesh like creeping up, and the line of infection going up their veins to their heart. They're toast soon. They're just not going to make it.
What kind of a bank doesn't have drive-throughs? I don't know about you, but there's none of these funky Bank of Americas over here in Chicago have a goddamn drive-through, and that irritates the hell out of me, man.
Yeah. My mom she had this bank, Sterling Savings, and they went under and got gobbled up by
Sterling Savings.
Sterling Savings. They got gobbled up by Umpqua Bank or someone like that during the whole mess. But when she was at Sterling Savings, they cut their hours to they're no longer open at after 5 p.m. and they didn't have any Saturday hours. And my mom was a nurse who worked from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. every day, and there was no way she could not visit her bank for like 3 years because they decided to save money and weren't open past 5 p.m. anymore. And she's like, I have no way of like depositing money, of getting money back. I just can't see a bank teller because anytime she had a day off was a holiday and the bank was closed.
Yeah, that really sucks.
She was just stuck. She couldn't even close her account because she couldn't see anybody to close her account. All right, Daphne Berry. Hi, boss in Houston. Thanks for keeping up with everything and passing on all your DD and analysis. It makes us feel like we aren't just swimming alone. How do you sell fractional shares during MOAS? Limit orders.
Somebody I know on Wealthsimple has like stop limit orders. So like stop limit orders placed for 690,000, 69,420, like absolute ridiculous. So this guy literally went into like Wealthsimple, for example, and set a stop limit order for $690,000 for AMC or GameStop, or half a share, or quarter of a share, whatever.
I just inhaled my water. I'm going to be coughing for a second. Sorry.
Of course, man.
Sorry, monkey. All right.
You're all good.
Every third show I discover I can't breathe my water. I try. I keep trying. I'm gonna get gills one of these days. Yeah.
My dog agrees.
I was on Discord. I'm so bad at Discord, but I was on a server sometime this summer, and a guy was showing that on Robinhood, you could do fractional orders of GameStop, and if you set the order as small as teeny tiny as possible at 1 cent, you essentially were buying GameStop for half the price. So because it would round down once it got to like where that fraction of the price was at, what should have been 1.4 cents or whatever, it would just round down to 1 cent. So you're getting 40% on your dollar. And so he started setting up a whole bunch of buys for like, tens of thousands of buys at this fractional thing. So it kept executing. And my guess is that Robinhood was losing a fortune on him because they're losing like 40 cents on every dollar every time he made a trade. But eventually, we do 100 of these things and you got yourself a full share because you're buying 1 penny at a time. And it's pretty phenomenal. Sorry, someone's messaging me here. I'm going to have to.
Oh, that's a good point. And yeah, a lot of people are able to, neither of us are financial advisors, but I know that there are some ways on various brokers that even if you can't do it now, in the future, when the price gets closer, you can do that. You can set up a variety of different fractional share prices, multitudes of orders in order to, try to get a better overall average selling price.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, sorry. My chat's now resetting because it likes to do that constantly. And then I miss where I was in the lineup here.
You guys are here for my channel. Make sure you follow Houston Wade. This guy, I was watching Houston Wade way before I started a channel myself. Just so you guys know, I'm talking to everybody on YouTube, not directly to you, Houston. And I'm not just brown nosing, but I literally come over here to like listen to all the cool shit you talk about, like outer space or like volcanoes or geography and shit like that. Always cool facts, man.
It's fun stuff. It like I don't know how those guys, I talked about this before. I don't know how the guys that Trey and Matt and those guys, they do 8 hours a day talking about one thing. I can't. I need to diversify my thought process. I don't know how. It's a superpower they have, and I don't have it. I need somebody to like ask me a question about space or geography or geology or history or something, current events, something to just break up the monotony. Because it all breaks down to we buy and hold. That's all we can do. That's all of our powers that we have, and we're just killing time until then. Like we're
trying to make the most of it, man.
Yeah, trying to make
the most of it over here. Trying to get as much money as I can personally into the stocks.
Yeah.
I'm like, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah. So here we are. And the chat's going so fast right now. I don't even have time to read these things. Okay.
Yeah, sorry. If you guys got a question, just copy paste it again. We're not like purposely skipping questions.
Yeah, it goes beyond my ability to see things. And if you do the super chat, it does make it like bright green or yellow or whatever, and then I know I have an obligation. I have a financial obligation to answer that question.
Yeah, hey, it's a good question.
It is in my best interest to do that. Okay. Birdman, would everybody buying up fractional shares screw with the algo? I have no idea.
That would definitely cause some problems for hedgies, I think.
Yeah, it probably would because, they have to buy the full share and then the broker has to like figure out how to allocate it after that. It'll probably do some weird things. Yeah. I mean, throwing a few cents here and there just to fuck with them. Why not? What can it hurt? All it will do is you end up with technically more shares than you had before to hold. Yeah. Give it a whirl. See what happens. Might get a stern letter from your broker being like, just cut it out. John Demerijan, hope I say that right. I am going to use some of my money made from AMC to buy crypto mining equipment to the point where it makes $20,000 a month, and then I'm golden. More power to you, but just know that crypto equipment is good for like 6 to 8 months, and you got to do it all over again because on to the next generation. Because it gets harder and harder and harder. A few years ago, I was renting this house, and it was the largest 2-bedroom I'd ever seen in my life. It's like a 4,000 square foot 2-bedroom. The place cost a fortune to heat, but it was the only place available in my community to rent. Giant 30-foot ceilings, and the electric furnace was the electric bill was like $600-700 a month. It was absolute nightmare. And so what I did was I went to Goodwill and I bought a whole bunch of crappy computers. And I just loaded up all over the house, all these terrible computers, and then had them mine Zcash, Zcoin. And it kept the house warm and paid for almost the electric bill. The electric bill was still like $700 a month, but I was making like $625 in Zcash. So that's what I did. I hated the house with just a whole bunch of computers. And it was the least efficient thing. I was just wasting energy, but I couldn't afford my electric
spending
bill
75 instead of 200,
exactly,
right?
Yeah.
It's genius, man. That's like this fucking genius shit to do. And you never know what might happen. That Zcoin might have gone absolutely crazy.
Well, but all that Zcash got stolen from me by the Poloniex exchange because that was where my wallet was. And one day I got this letter that said hey, Washington State won't let us operate in your state anymore. We're closing your account. And poof, everything was gone. All of my Zcash gone.
Really?
Yeah. And it was, at this point,
why did it have a Washington State?
I don't know what it was. They must have gotten some letter from the Attorney General or something for doing shady shit, and then they did some shady shit. I was trying to figure out how much it's worth now. What's Zcash at the moment? I had hundreds of coins at this point. Zec, what's Zec doing?
That's crazy that they're able to just kind of do that nonsense with people's crypto if the government feels that there's some sort of fuckery.
Zcash is at $160. So yeah, they probably stole the equivalent of today, probably 50 or 100 grand from me. So
pieces of shit.
Yeah. Such a
c'est la vie.
Yeah, half the crypto market is crime anyway. You just have to go into it knowing that. So they're going to steal you. They're going to rob your account. They're going to make you give your passphrases. They're going to make fake exchanges. They're going to make coins like the Squid Games coin that if you buy it, you're never able to sell it again. So it became this like $2 trillion Ponzi scheme. I don't know how it is. Everyone who makes a crypto scam, I am in so much awe of what you've managed to achieve that it's like watching these little mini heist films over and over and over again. I was reading about these 4 different like monkey NFTs that all got stolen the other day, and just, bravo, good job. You are utilizing this unregulated market to the full potential it can be. And, I tip my hat and bow my head. I don't know what else to say other than like, I've been got before. It's like, nothing you can do. Some Russian guy is enjoying all of my Zcash. I don't know. It's kudos.
It's really tough. You got to be careful in the crypto market, especially.
Yeah. They'll get you.
People keep asking if we're going to stream live during the MOAS. And I don't know about you, but I plan to. What about you? I mean, I hope to.
It's going to be a 2-3 week process, so plenty of time. Yeah, I mean,
it's an ongoing thing.
I don't think I can do the March of Dimes telethon and like just go for 3 weeks straight. There may come a point where I'm like, and sell, peace. I'll talk to you guys in 6 months.
Like, well, I'm filthy fucking rich. Thank you very much.
One of the most joyous things I ever listened to was I was driving in the car, NPR was on, and they called up the founder of Instagram the day that they'd sold to Facebook for billions. And Instagram was a company of like 15, 16 people. That was it. Yeah. So like all of them are worth hundreds of millions of dollars at this point. And they were wasted. And so the guy at NPR is trying to get like information out of this dude. And all he hears like 10 people cheering and saying drink, drink, drink in the background. And like this guy is like, I'm set, I'm golden, whatever you want to talk about, NPR, dude. Like nothing was coherent. It was just so much joy exuded through that phone that person may never experience that pure joy again at that level. And to be able to like just listen to that, I've got it made, whatever, life is good. Not everyone gets to experience that in their life too many times.
Yeah.
And to be able to share in that with 4 to 10 million other people is just going to be rad.
It's going to be pretty special, I think.
Yeah. And I'm like shaking, vibrating with anticipation of that moment constantly. So,
Here's to that, brother.
Yeah.
I think we're going to be fucking rich.
Cheers. Private island G6 rich. And we're going to get it all at auction from all these hedge fund managers for pennies.
We're in it for fuck you money.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I ain't selling until they fire Janet Yellen.
All right. Adam Watkins asks, has Boss got the munchies yet? You guys are awesome. Thanks for the collaboration.
That's awesome. I liked it. I like it a lot.
Houston on my dog walks money. Monkey, we're walking like 30 miles a day every day, buddy. That's what we're doing. Susie Pretty, I currently have a brokerage account with Wells Fargo. Can you explain why you think they don't do brokerage accounts? I think they sold, like somebody else owns Wells Fargo brokerage. If I remember correctly, sometime this year, I can look it up here. Wells Fargo sells, brokerage services. Wells Fargo Management sells asset management arm to private equity firm for $2.1 billion. That was in February. All right. And so it manages $603 billion on behalf of the Wells Fargo customers. So it's like Wells Fargo in name only, I think, at this point. This is from CNBC. I don't know. I can share.
I think you're right. It's more of a branding thing at this point.
Yeah.
Less anything else.
Yeah. So like USAA sold their brokerage service a little while ago to Schwab. And because Schwab was already a big name, they just became Schwab. So that's how that works. So that was my original broker was USAA. I loved having them. But then Schwab bought them, and Schwab did turn off the buy button. That's one thing they did. But Schwab does not care. You can do whatever you want. You can buy whatever stock you want. And I like to play games with like just beaten down penny stocks on the OTC that I see them bounce from like 1/10 of a penny, 1/100th of a penny to like 2/100ths of a penny to 1/100th of a penny. And I'll buy it one, sell it two, buy it one, sell it two, and I'll make a couple $100 here and there. And it's kind of fun to like play that little game. I tried to do that with Fidelity. Fidelity's like, no, you're an idiot. We don't trust you to buy that stock because that stock is worthless. Don't be stupid, you sweet summer child. Schwab's like, whatever, dude. Buy all the crappy shares you want. We don't care. And so I use them for that. So all my terrible, terrible ideas happen in Schwab, and Fidelity makes sure I'm not as dumb as I really am. They're really like they just shake their head and say, no, we cannot execute that for you, you moron.
That's great.
So yeah, so that's
They're a lot more strict and I think within reason as well, because otherwise you end up with a Robin Hood situation.
Yep.
Legal situation,
Schwab lets me look at it. Oh, sorry, Fidelity lets me look at it. They're like, yeah, this is the price of that stupid thing you wanted to buy. And I want to buy it. They go, no, this is for looking only. You can look in the window of the store, but you can't actually purchase the thing in there. You can't handle that. You can't handle that $100 trade for 600,000 shares in the stock.
Then they send you that letter in the mail.
Yeah. we had to deny this because you're just too stupid to be trusted with your own money. Let's see here. We still have 900 of them in here. I'm gonna have to fade away here in like 20 minutes.
Let's call it a night soon. But
I gotta give myself
having a good time.
Dinner. Yeah.
Second dinner.
Yeah, I usually do like
Yeah.
a quick pasta meal at 6 o'clock in the evening, and then I gotta do second dinner around 9 o'clock. I'm a skinny dude. I've got to load up on my calories every evening. And it's surprising, like doing these shows, I feel like I've gone to the gym. My brain's all warm. I've been talking. I've been like having to think about things when I can normally turn my brain off for a good chunk of the day, but it's like the calories get burned. You just have to do it. Got to eat up. And if you watch guys like Uncle Bruce or whatever, like Uncle Bruce does a show during the day, and he's either eating a bagels. I feel weird making chewing sounds on a microphone. It's bad enough like I'm drinking water and making that slurping sound or whatever, but if I've got to like sit there and like cut some lasagna and shove it in my mouth while I'm eating, I think I'll get those weird Koreans, the ones that like to like watch people eat food, will come on my channel. So it's another avenue to get views. Like watch me eat 40 boneless wings. I don't know. But
that's hilarious. I love it. Maybe it's worth a shot, brother. Go for it.
Exactly. Diversify the account a little more.
Yeah, maybe do some shorts of you just eating lasagna. That'd be great.
Just sweating and dabbing my sweat. Blue Hefner asks, when does Anchorage have to cover their shares on GME and AMC? I don't know if they have. If they I think it was puts is what they have on AMC. They had 4 million puts in AMC. Some people in the chat said they sold them already. Others said that they have yet to be sold. I don't know if you have any insight on that. Can you see on your terminal if you look it up?
No, brother. However, I do know that we had movement to the positive note yesterday on AMC and GameStop, and today was positive after hours for AMC, and that was with good reason. They delta hedged after hours specifically to keep calls from showing their implied volatility, and it's a very smart tactic on their part.
Yeah.
So we could see a lot more of the same tomorrow, or tomorrow could be insanity. I mean, I think it was kind of a precursor of things to come, if you ask me.
I hope tomorrow's some insanity because I've got some GME calls for Friday that I need to get some action on them.
Yeah, I'm with you. I've got a lot of calls that expire this month, next month, after that, and so on. So I'm like, I'm in the game with you, shares and calls, brother. Let's play. I'm a degenerate gambler like you. We're on the casino floor together, looking at AMC and GameStop.
Oh, come on, make it happen. I want some more tenders to play with so that I can do it again and build that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Watch some of these asshole hedge funds get kicked to the curb, take some of their money, then you got some funds to make more moves with.
Yeah. Drive with Valerian asks, what is Boss's bull case for AMC? It sounds like he prefers it over GME. I would love to hear his bull thesis. Nothing but respect and love.
I don't know if I would say I prefer it over GME, other than the price is a lot easier to get into. It's a lot more affordable.
Oh,
it's a toss up as to whether or not, if you want to say that GameStop has more shorts.
Yeah.
Whatever, like who knows really at the end of the day. But I do know one thing, that members of the community have gone out and checked the ISDA contracts on both AMC and GameStop. They're both extremely heavily fucked with in many different kinds of ISDA contracts and derivatives. And there are over 5, let me just make sure I got this correct. There are over 5 million married puts for AMC and over 5 million married puts for GameStop. When you look at it on a kind of a mathematical viewpoint, there are more GameStop puts than AMC because the float is only 78 million versus 513 million respectively. That being said, it's still a stronger bull case that GameStop will run to a higher number. But when you look at the current share prices and their entry points, you would probably, or should I say, I'm not a financial advisor, but it would seem to me that if they were both to run the same, even if GameStop were to run 5 times higher than AMC, it would still, you'd get more leverage by spending that money on AMC if it was at a 5 times lower number than GameStop, but still it's something we would consider, moon status in 4, 5, 6 figures.
I did the math because I just basically said 10 times because the float is 10 times higher in AMC than it is in GME, and so my assumption is as long as the price of GME isn't 10 times higher than AMC, then technically GME might be the better buy.
Yeah. And that's the thing is like if it does go up 10 times higher, and I noticed I said million, but I meant 5 billion, 5.2 billion married puts that were tracked by the Kilted Trader. That's his YouTube name from January through mid-September, and then 5.5 or 5.6 billion married puts that were connected with GameStop in that same time span.
So I mean, play them both, and
it's both thesis for both of them.
Yeah, and it's not just these two stocks. There's 100 of them that are being treated this way, maybe more, thousands in the OTC because they just hammer everything in the OTC. It's there's going to be weird stocks that we haven't thought of or no one's talked about that will have strange moonshots. Come the 4th week of January or whatever, just like last year, and you're like, huh, that's weird. I never heard of that company. Why did stock price go from, $2 to $56 over a 2-day period with everything else? And that's because, comeuppance, man. Someone got liquidated, had to do forced buying, something happened. So that's.
But retail owns AMC and GameStop. That's the difference, right? Yep. So even though like Ocugen Pharmaceuticals ran 5,000% in February 8th, and after AMC and GameStop had their buy button pulled, that was kind of like a ripple effect through the IWM, which is the ETF of the Russell 2000.
Yeah.
So GameStop shot to the top of the IWM, and then AMC followed right behind it in January when we had this bull run. So it was cheaper for the hedge funds and the market makers and the broker dealers to go position close only on AMC and GameStop entirely so that they could short it in order to make money on the way down and keep it that way for the better part of a week for both stocks because those were the dangers as well as a couple others. Well, meanwhile, when they did resume trading on February 8th through February 16th, we saw dozens of other stocks run between 100 to 6,000% each. And that was cheaper. All of those stocks running were cheaper than AMC and GameStop.
Yeah. The OTC market had a weird spike that second week of February that just like a huge chunk of the OTC went whomp for like a week. All this stuff is tied together. All this stuff is in the same basket. And they're all getting treated
literally,
the same
I mean, not literally, but figuratively, as literal as could be. If there was a basket, they're in it. You know what I mean? They're in that proverbial basket of the ETFs, including IWM, IWN, IWV, et cetera, and all these other ones that hold the stocks from the Russell 2000 and the 1000.
Yep.
And ever since GameStop was moved to the Russell 1000 in June because they made the cutoff, now AMC is at the top of the Russell 2000.
Yeah.
So they're the top dog, and over 12 million shares of AMC are held in the Russell, in IWM alone. That ETF alone that could be shorted at any time.
Yep. Komodosh super chats, late to the party. Not sure if you touched on this. What are your thoughts on Pi-Fi's theory of possible MOAS in January? So, Doctor, what's his butt?
Pi-Fi.
Pickle Financial. Yeah, Pickle Financial.
I'm sorry. You're going to have to tell me about it.
The Gherkin. I had him on my show. I've been on his show before. He's a smart trader. So he basically is looking at cycle theory and looking at the T35s and futures contracts and all these things. Mm-hmm. And he was noticing that there are certain dates where the T35s meet up with the week after the monthlies expire. And that you get these gamma squeezes that happen in the following month. And since the December monthlies, the November monthlies, December monthlies, and the January yearlies, the way they expire with the timing of these quarterly futures, that we're going to see like the floor get pushed from each one. So this past November weeklies, the following week we saw it spike to 250, and the December monthlies are Friday, and so we might, if we get a good push tomorrow, we'll probably have a gamma and it'll spike next week again. But January, there's just a shitload because it's the yearlies, and the week after the yearlies last year was when we had the baby squeeze, and so this time around, his idea is you play the options, you buy these fourth week options, these weeklies, like on Friday morning, get the weeklies for next week and play those, see them pump up, 200% or whatever, sell them, use that cash to buy, use half the cash to buy February 18th options and the other half to play the weeklies the next time around and for the next cycle. And then when the price goes absolutely bonkers, the fourth week of January, and all of your February options are in the money, you exercise those as well. And you just put a giant gamma squeeze on for that first week of February. So everyone, they exercise their fourth week January options and they exercise their February monthlies. And they basically put double the hammer on the gamma squeeze as what all the option houses and option writers had before. And so they just forced to buy, and that pushes everyone to the moon.
Okay, I saw that on Reddit. Yeah. I didn't know who the person behind that was. So that's
Gherkin's
cool.
rad. He's one of those people that also can manage to do like an 8-hour long show during the day that I cannot.
Sweet.
Yeah, he'll do his show and then come on my show for an hour as a visit, and I'm like, I don't know how you're doing it. I'm at 4 hours today with a giant break in the middle, and I am like done.
Shutting down. Time for second dinner.
Exactly.
That sounds very like a very interesting thing, and I've been following the futures and the IMM dates. Yeah. All of these very closely as well. I think the T35 and the T28 dates are very important, and I do believe that it's highly possible. I expect something to happen here soon. But if it doesn't, that sounds like a great fucking idea to me. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And we're still waiting on, during the fourth quarter, Loopring and their corporate partner are supposed to announce some sort of marketplace.
I don't count anything out until the 31st at midnight.
Yeah. So we got time. We're doing our sitting and waiting. That's the best.
Although tomorrow is pretty key to my options and probably some of yours as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, tomorrow I need a bit steeper green tomorrow to make me truly happy. So
let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Max Payne.
That might be it for me, man. That was fun. I got 2
Oh, that's great. I've had a lot of fun. We can go on forever, but yeah let's call it a night because it's getting late. So catch up another time. Make sure you guys follow Houston Wade if you're coming here from my channel too. It's good to see all the support. Thank you, everybody.
Follow Boss Blunts over his channel. He's a night owl, so he'll do his shows. I'll see him like pop up like I'm going live now, and it's like midnight. So that's when
the crazy crypto and Chinese shit happens.
Exactly.
And
you get all the euros, the euro pours as they wake up, and make their coffee, and eat their breakfast with you.
That too.
Yeah, so it was fun. That was a blast. We could definitely.
Thanks so much for letting me hang out with you, brother.
Oh, thanks for instigating and asking to do this. Cool. Yeah, I enjoy being able to talk to other people and not just like talk to my computer screen.
Same here. That's kind of why I wanted to talk to you. I appreciate all the information that you brought up, and thanks for that heads up info on JP Morgan too, with separation from the DTC. I never looked at it that way, and I appreciate that, man. That's the beauty of being able to collaborate and work together with other people here and in the community and in everywhere, right? Twitter, Reddit, everything in between.
I wouldn't doubt if we in 6 months we see news about JP Morgan gobbling up a whole bunch of former members of the DTCC.
Bye, Goldman.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Have a good night, my man. Have a good night, everybody. I'm going to leave you with another intro and then sign off. All right, here we go.